Now, as always, the gift that keeps on giving, the person who keeps on taking, is our old mate Kristina Keneally, the one who continues to fail up in the Australian political sphere, from an unsuccessful premiership to a unsuccessful run for the lower house to being dropped into the Senate where she couldn't hold on to her position. So, of course, it was time for her to continue her failing up mission to be the leader of the Labor Party, the Prime Minister, the Governor-General, Pope, presumably President of the United States when she can go back to Vegas. You know it's all on the way whether you like it or not. Of course, there was a person who was, cannon fodder for her political ambitions. And that, of course, was a young Vietnamese woman who may well have had better connections to the community of Fowler, which includes places like Cabramatta, than the Sheila who lives on an island off the northern beaches. But we've made that point many times before. And, of course, Kristina Keneally is considered such an impressive political talent. Someone who, both ways Bill, decided to take with him all day, everywhere when it came to the campaign. And they were so sure of their victory last time around that they played with puppies the week before an election. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the job that she has had, regardless of whether it is the upper house or the lower house. It is her position as the Shadow Home Affairs Minister, the person who has purview over everything from the Australian Federal Police to immigration policy. A person who has said in the past, when she wrote an opinion piece in the Turnbull Times, that Australia has a moral duty to bring home foreign fighters, the families, I should say, of foreign fighters in Syria, the ISIS brides. This is a person who has caved into the Twitter mob time and time again and has even gone to the same rallies which are being put in place against the then Home Affairs Minister, Peter Dutton. So it's all politics to this arch player of politics who continues to fail up. Now, in the past few days, she tweeted this after a meeting that she had had with local members of the community of which she wishes to represent in the seat of Fowler. It was great to meet with the Australian Chinese Association in Cabramatta last week. Thank you to its president for having me. I was touched by the frame photo that they had from 2010. The Chinese community in Fowler deserves a government that is on your side. And of course, to prove that she was there, here's the photos with said leaders from said organisation. 1, 2, and 3. So what exactly is the organisation that in part she was meeting with? Well, the Australian Council for the Promotion of a Peaceful Reunification of China, otherwise known as the people who think, well, let's have a look at their own mission statement here, should we? The people who believe in the upholding of the common idea of a peaceful development and peaceful reunification across the Taiwan Strait. Put simply, Taiwan is not its own country. Taiwan is part of China. China can take it back whenever the hell it wants, which is exactly the same position that the Chinese president has.
Unification is the hope of all Chinese people. If China can be unified, all Chinese will enjoy a happy life. If China can't unify, everyone will suffer.
And if all of this is a little bit vague, may I point to the reporting of the Channel 9 papers today, because guess who one of those blokes was? The head of United Front. That is a propaganda outfit for, bang, the Chinese government. Here's their reporting today. One of the individuals Senator Keneally met with was Hung Lai, who is also the president of the Australian Council of the Promotion of the Peaceful Reunification of China, which has previously been described as the peak United Front group in Australia. Senior security sources, who were not authorised to speak publicly, but clearly did behind whispered tones, said that the senator has received briefings from intelligence agencies on the risk of meeting United Front groups. She didn't just meet them, she took photos with them and praised them as the people that she would help represent in the federal parliament, and presumably as part of the national security team of each way Albo should, God forbid, he become Prime Minister. Oh, yeah, and why did they meet specifically with this group? Well, if you believe Kristina Keneally, she didn't organise it. A local councillor organised it. And why was that the case? Because this group has given thousands of dollars to the Labor Party. Nothing to see here, right? I don't trust China on Labor. And I don't trust that a person who wants to be part of the national security team of this country can't be asked Googling who the name is of the people that she's not only meeting but going to take photos with. But of course, it's KK. and there's nothing to see here.
Last week you met with the President of Australia's premier United Front organisation. Was that appropriate to meet with that individual?
Last week I met with the President of the Chiao Tao Association in Fowler. I was invited to do so by a local councillor in Fowler. I can guess from the insinuation you're making that you're concerned about some aspect of foreign interference. So am I. So am I. What we should not do is look upon those Australian citizens who have migrated to this country, whether it's from China, Cambodia, or anywhere else, and assume that they are all somehow agents of foreign interference. They are Australian.
Bullshit. No one does. But the one you met with is part of a propaganda effort to believe that Taiwan is not its own country. So, Senator, here's a question. Do you think Taiwan is its own country? Feel free to respond in the normal passive-aggressive fashion via Twitter. We'll report it tomorrow night. Meantime, also about where Kristina Keneally steers the Labor Party. Last night on this program, we spoke to the Immigration Minister about a rather simple and obvious issue, which was that the federal government should have increased powers to deport people who are guilty of serious crimes, not people who are done for shoplifting, serious crimes like things like sexual assault. Here's what Alex Hawke told us about why the bill should pass the Senate.
Bring in a test, a stronger test, that allows us to refuse a visa if someone's got a serious criminal offence. You think it'd be totally non-controversial. If they've got a serious offence with a 2-year sentence, that will allow us, if they apply to come to Australia, to refuse that visa. If they committed an offence here, we want greater discretion to be able to cancel that visa.
And guess what KK and the Labor Party did today? They voted with the Greens and they rejected this piece of legislation.
That is the Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who is always more interested in a political outcome than in a pragmatic solution. A Prime Minister who loves a headline but never delivers. A Prime Minister who is playing politics with women and children's lives.
Seriously? The law was about deporting people who are guilty of serious offences, not shoplifting. Labor voted against it. Just like they voted against mandatory sentencing for people who bring in illegal guns to the country. Elections have consequences. In this case, if Albo ends up as Prime Minister, Kristina Keneally ends up around the cabinet table and, God forbid, in a national security position. But nothing to see here, right?